Hi everyone, Dead Battery here, and thank you for joining me on my channel. So today's video is going to be kind of unique. I'm going to upgrade a Game Boy Advance for my husband's new car. So it's not really new. My husband got a Nissan Cima, C-I-M-A. And it is this fancy luxury car. He likes to call it his old man car. But it's basically top line luxury. I can control everything from the back seat if I decide to sit back there. It's kind of like a boss's car. You can control the radio, you can control the AC, and you can even move the seat in front of you forward so you have more room. Like many Japanese cars, it does have a TV on it as well as tape, CD, map. It's got everything there. What we did notice was with the TV on the back, there are these. And many of retro friends here know what that is. So we thought we'd test the theory out, and I took my Sega Nomad out because I had the connection for it and tested it. And sure enough, it worked. But the Sega Nomad was not something that I wanted to keep in the car. So I kind of did a little research and found out that you could get a mod for a Game Boy Advance and actually hook it up to a TV. So I thought this would be perfect, give it video output and hook it into the car, and then maybe I could sit in the back seat and he could just drive me everywhere. I was lucky enough to find a Game Boy Advance, one of the purple ones, in the junk section of my local store for I think around 7,000 yen, but it could have been cheaper, I don't remember, but it had a burnt screen. So let's take this system apart, let's add what we need to, and let's see if it works in the car. This is what the Game Boy Advance looks like. As you can see, it does have that burnt screen. And this is the IPS LCD with AV out for the Game Boy Advance. LED boards and the control board and some clear buttons, but I'm not too sure if I'm going to use these, as well as a rechargeable battery. All of these I bought off of Retro Modding. I'll leave a link in the description below. To take apart the Game Boy Advance, there are 6 screws that are Y screws on the back, and then there is one Phillips head screw underneath the battery cover. There is nothing holding the back panel on, so you can just take it off. And then I like to remove the ribbon first. It is a little difficult. I always find these ribbon holders on the Game Boy Advance kind of tight, so just take your time. Move one side and go back and forth so that you don't break something. You can take the side pieces off as well as the buttons at the top. These are a little different than some other systems. Instead of a spring, it's just this metal piece. I find these a lot nicer because springs always go flying. To get the motherboard off, it's just 2 more screws, and you'll be able to lift it out of place. This one's definitely a little dirty, so I'm gonna have to clean it up like usual. To get the screen out, it's really easy. Just kind of wiggle it back and forth and get your finger or your nail underneath there and lift it up. Just be careful because there is the sticky part that holds the screen down. If you're not using it, you can remove it for a mod, but if you need to reuse it, just be careful so you don't break it. This is what comes with the AV out kit. It comes with everything you need: the new LCD screen, the motherboard, as well as 5 of the wires. You also get 2 ribbon cables, which I'll explain in a second, as well as all the covers and the sticky parts you need. So first, I'm just going to solder down all these 5 wires. They are marked with where they go, but it doesn't matter which wire goes where as long as the other end goes to the correct part. Now they supply a plastic sticker that goes on the back of the screen. Here are both the ribbons. The Game Boy Advance either came with a 32 pin or a 40 pin. So this kit comes with both. You just need to know which one is yours. At the moment, because I haven't tested the screen, I'm actually not too sure which way this ribbon needs to go. I'm not too sure if I was having a difficult day and why I couldn't figure this out, but I'm gonna connect it now and test it. The great thing about Game Boy Advance is you don't have to put it all back together to test it. You can just pop the back on and then put the batteries in place and it will hold itself. It's not working, so I obviously have it on backwards. So I am going to flip it around and put the ribbon in the correct way. I think that screen looks really nice, and this screen also came with extra buttons that you can change the color as well as the brightness. And until I get these in place, they're just going to be acting weird every time I move the screen. But I do like the option to change up your screen if you would like to. The next step is trying to figure out how to route these wires. I've done mods before where there's a lot of wires, and it's always a difficult part of where can I put it without squishing something. And some schematics show you what to do, but not all of them. So I noticed on the side where you put the game in, there are little tunnels. So I'm thinking that I can just put 2 wires on each side, since 2 go on one side and 2 go on the other. And hopefully it will hold it all in place. The first wire I'm putting on is marked as L, even though I'm working from the right side. Remember that the board is upside down right now. The wire that goes to the other side for the right goes to the same pin but on the opposite side. The ground and the AV are really close, so make sure you pay attention to what pins they need to go to. So your wire that's marked with SEL goes to the front near the start button on a spot that says TP2. Now the kit does come with another piece of sticky plastic, and I'm assuming it goes over top the motherboard, but I wasn't really having too much luck keeping it down. I'm not 100% sure what side it was supposed to go to. At the moment, I'm not putting it on because I can't get it to stay in place. Now that everything is hooked up, I can go ahead and reattach the ribbon and then test it all out again to make sure it is still working, and to also make sure that the wires are out of the way. Because I don't have those 2 other wires in place, it's gonna act funky each time I try to mess with something. And this is also because the board is not covered. To put the screen down, I took the original sticky off and I'm putting the sticky outer ring that came with the kit. I would highly suggest, and I know a lot of the websites that you buy this stuff from does mention, do not put the screen in place till you test it, because it is extremely sticky. You're not going to be able to remove the screen, and if you are able to, most likely you're going to break it. So just make sure you line it up properly and then peel off the rest of it and then line up the screen. For this one, because I am using the original case, there was a little bit of trimming to do. I didn't show it on camera, but it was a very minute amount, and any of the sites that you buy this stuff from will tell you what to trim. Because that one sticky plastic piece they gave me wasn't working, I decided to just use some Kapton tape to protect the board. I'm just going to do a quick clean of the buttons, nothing too crazy. I'm just using isopropyl alcohol. I know many of you have seen me clean some grosser stuff, and if it is that gross, I will do a bucket of soapy water, but this was pretty just normal dust, so isopropyl alcohol will do it just fine. To get the rechargeable battery in place, you also have to trim the back portion, and you have to remove one side of the battery contacts. But once again, any site that you buy the battery packs from usually have an explanation of what you have to trim. So this one is basically that bottom plastic piece and a little bit of the side, and then remove the battery terminal on one side, and after that it will snugly fit into place. I really like Retro Modding's rechargeable battery. It has an on-off switch on the battery, so after you charge it you can just turn it off. So I'm hoping this kind of saves the board a little bit. This last piece that I am installing, I didn't know if I wanted to install it, but it's supposed to help with the power. It's called a power cleaner, and I guess Gameboy Advances can be loud when they have the rechargeable battery. This perfectly fits around where you need to solder it to. Just be aware, these capacitors are teeny tiny. They are going to be easy to mess up if you don't do it correctly, or if you don't have a way to see it easy. Because once this is in place, and if it's put in place wrong, I don't think you're getting this back up. Now that everything is ready to go, I can get all the buttons back into place. I have tested it a couple times, so it should be good to close up and not have to worry about it. However, the last step before sealing it up is peeling the backing off of the two touch buttons and putting them on the front display. I am a fan of these, and I don't like these. They can bend really easily, and they can stick to themselves, and they can be difficult to peel off the backing. I don't know how anybody does it that doesn't have nails, because I have to use a tweezer. I can't get my nail in between it. But once you get the backing off, you stick them where you feel is appropriate, or where you want to tap it to change either the display color or the brightness. Don't forget to put the side pieces on and the top left and right buttons. Then it's just the two screws holding the motherboard down. And last is the 6Y screws, as well as that hidden screw underneath your battery. Now that everything is working normally, I can take it out to the car and have a test on our TV. I decided to grab Bubble Bobble because it's one of my favorite games, and as you can see, it is working on the TV. I can change the brightness as well as the color. I'm really happy with it, and I think it looks really neat. So I think this mod was pretty simple. The kit came with everything you needed. However, I didn't fully read everything. I went and tested it on the TV inside first before we went outside, and I was having difficulty and it wasn't hooking up. And I kind of did like the sad face, like, I guess I didn't do this. And I went downstairs and I sat on the couch and I was like, great, I messed up again. And then I kept reading. So if you don't know, you have to hold these two buttons for 5 seconds for it to switch from this mode to TV mode. So once I figured that out, then we went out to the car and tested it. So now I have a Gameboy Advance to use in the car. Unfortunately, even though my husband's luxury Cima has these video hookups in the back and has a TV like most Japanese cars here do, people have the TV on all the time when they drive. The second that car goes into drive, the TV shuts off and it doesn't allow video, which we didn't realize because we were only testing it while it was parked outside. We didn't go for a drive. So unfortunately, I did this whole hookup and we can't use it in the car unless the car is in park. And we're not going to waste a V8 engine or the battery power just to power a Gameboy Advance. So at the moment, I've got a cool system that I can hook up to the TV and play some games on larger scale, but I also have a GameCube with the Gameboy Advance hookup at the bottom to do the same exact thing. So this was honestly just a fun mod to do. Let me know in the comments if this is a mod you did or if this is something that interests you. And even if you don't have a huge amount of soldering skills or a huge amount of modding, I think you could definitely do this. So go have a look and see if you can find a burnt screen Gameboy Advance to give this a go and let me know how it went. As always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Bye!